Well, welcome everyone to another Spark Coaching live session. As usual, I'm joined with Kylie Denton and Bram LeGroux, our illustrious coaches. Welcome to the stage, guys.
Thanks,
Hello.
Arthur.
And our special guest today, Charlie Pidcock. Welcome to the Spark Coaching live session, Charlie. Amazing kind of story we're talking about backstage with you actually having swum the English Channel. And I know the topic of today is the art of business development, but there's absolutely no way any challenge is going to convince me to do something like that. What made you do something like that? Tell us.
That's a good question. There's a couple of reasons for it, and it'll take me longer than 5 minutes usually. That's an hour keynote, but essentially I broke it down into 4 reasons. When one swims a lot, one's got a lot of time to think. There were 2 minor reasons for me. The minor reasons were working for myself, by myself. I needed to be more focused and organised at work. I thought it would help me do that. The second thing was any sort of exercise is good for one's physical and mental health. So that's the second minor reason. The 2 major reasons, I can't really explain the first one other than when I was 10 years old, I didn't know how I would play rugby league, cricket, and go to the Olympics for Australia all in the same year. So it was a bit of a destiny thing for me because I never achieved any of those things. But by far and away, the greatest reason, the number one reason, was I have children who are at the time 21 and 23, and I wanted to show them what one can achieve when you set a really audacious goal, practice really hard towards or try really hard towards it, and enjoy the benefits of self-satisfaction around that. So essentially, I wanted my kids to lead full lives. And when I was talking to a sports psychologist about that, he said it's a very powerful reason. I was saying to Kylie yesterday, I said lots of things about my kids when I was swimming across the channel, but I also said I want them to lead full lives. So that's the 2 minor and 2 major reasons in a nutshell.
That's fantastic. And look, when we were backstage and I was getting things ready, I've been hearing the conversation. You talked about you were almost hit your pre-swim time goal. I think you're out for about 5 minutes. Yeah. And then the conversation kind of led to another swim that you were doing in Perth, but it probably didn't go as well. Maybe my theory for that is, well, you're swinging the English Channel. You don't want to be the Australian guy that's kind of failed dismally doing so. You'd be all over the tabloids. So that was the incentive to probably get on time.
Yeah, it's a good question, right? And there are so many similarities between swimming and sales. And I was obsessed about swimming the English Channel. I meticulously prepared for 2 years. I physically trained, I mentally trained, I was emotionally ready. The swim that I did 2 or 3 weeks ago, I was underdone, I was underprepared. And I didn't take it for granted because I'm silly, but I'm not stupid. And I just wasn't quite prepared. I had a bad day out, the weather turned, I hadn't done enough work, and it really made me think about. There's a couple of photos of me that are less than flattering, and it made me think of the times that I've been underprepared as a salesperson. I knew I hadn't done the work. I got what I deserved. In sales, when that happens to you, you don't get the sale. So there are opportunities for all of us to be really, really prepared and to narrow one's focus, to make sure that you're doing everything you possibly can to be ready for that moment when, the medals or the sale is handed out. And it's a fine line sometimes. It's a really fine line.
Well, look, let's get stuck into it. Great intro, great background story. Lovely to hear the connection with family and self-development and well-being. But look, Kylie, Charlie's your guest today. What was the motivation to invite Charlie to the stage? Would you like to kick us off with some opening comment, and we can hand over to Charlie?
Yeah. For me, one of the things that really connected with Charlie and I when we first spoke a little while ago now was around the understanding that sales is not just a sale, it's the human connection that really makes a difference. So for it, just I use human connection. One of our programs around financial planners that we do around sales is human connection. It's about how do we create that human connection. So that's something that just really resonated. Charlie's been in business for about 10 years in sales, and one of the things that really sticks out for me is around that patience, that perseverance, and that strategy, you know, those three key ingredients. Because I think as sales professionals, and it doesn't matter whether you're an accountant, a financial planner, a doctor, right, a psychologist, whatever, we're all in sales, aren't we? If we've got a business to run, we've got sales. And Charlie, what you just said then is about being underprepared or not doing the work. And I think for me, it's what do we need to do in order to make sure we have that patience, because we need patience in sales, don't we? They don't all come off straight away. How do we keep going when we get knocked down, right? And one of the things you also said, and I'll pass it back to you, Charlie, to talk more about this, that art of business development, but having the right strategy, right? Just like you were saying with the swimming of the English Channel. You don't just go in there and go, well, I'm fit and healthy and I'm just going to swim the English Channel. You've got a whole strategy in the background. What's your diet look like? What's your health look like? Mental health, food, all that, okay? How many training sessions you do, how long you do them, right? All that beautiful strategy that sits behind it. So that's what really connected me to Charlie. And I thought this is something that I think our audience should hear a little bit more about. So Charlie, I'll pass it over to you. The art of business development. I know there's 3 keys for you. So why don't you share them?
Yeah, can I just frame it a little bit to say that all of my life I've been in organizations that differentiate by relationships and solution selling. So it's much more of a business to business or person to person type sale than it is business to consumer or selling through digital marketing. It's quite a distinction, and it gets all locked into the same bucket. One of the other things I think is important for this room and many others is that most people, and this was my experience, most people don't go through high school thinking I want to be in sales. But they go through life thinking they'll be a teacher or an engineer or an electrician or a but somewhere along the line, we have a chance conversation. So we fall into sales by chance. As you said, that everyone's in sales. So we fall into it by chance. But the really good ones that I've seen over the years then make a choice to continually learn, to continually improve, and try and get better in any way that you possibly can. And some of the conversation we were having yesterday, Kylie, was that the biggest things the biggest changes in our life don't happen with big things. There are no silver bullets and there are no magic pills, but it's the little things consistently done over a long period of time that make the difference. And my early sales career wasn't great. It was terribly difficult. I was in a business. I left university during the recession we had to have. I fell into a job in sales by chance, and I didn't know it at the time, but that business was about to go broke for the 3rd time. I was 22 years old, and most of the team laughed at me because I couldn't sell. And it was really tough. I felt isolated, I felt deserted, and life had been pretty good to me up until that point. And but I did have someone who said to me, nothing happens if no one sells anything. And I understood that to be true. So I leaned into that pain or that idea and have continually tried to get better at it. And I worked in organizations doing sales and leading sales teams. And as you said, 10 years ago, I started my own business. And part of that was a realization that there are 3 keys to business development when you're differentiating via relationships and solution selling. And the first one is to turn up to any meeting that you have with a mindset of being in service, of seeing how you can serve a room, not what you can sell to it, to see what you can give a room, not what you can take from it. Because when you do that, if you turn up with a mindset of selling, then you'll show up and throw up. And no one likes being covered in on spittle or other bits and pieces. So that's the first part, is to show up with a mindset of being in service, because whether we like it or not, no matter how clever we think we are, our motive is transparent. The person we're talking to feels our intention no matter what. So number one is to turn up with a mindset of being in service. Number two, and this is a tough one in society today where computers have sped up, or technologies hastened the pace of business. We're all running through life trying to get things done. So that number two is to be present, to be in the conversation that you're having, not thinking about what you haven't done beforehand or got to do after.
Yeah.
Because human connection happens in the moment when you're present with the person you're with or the group that you're with. So that's the second thing. And the third and almost final thing is sales is a numbers game. There's no two ways about it. But you should never compromise the quality of a conversation that you have in pursuit of the number of them that you have. So we've got to be in that moment having the best possible conversation we have. I quote 1,000 famous people, and some of those things have mentored me over my life. But my quote that I'm proud of is that you should never let a sale get in the way of a good conversation. If you have a good conversation, something great could happen. It may be an introduction or a referral to your dream client, but unless you focus on that conversation, then you may miss that, and you'll walk away with nothing. And so it's got to be those three things. And the thing, and you said earlier, Kylie, when I was looking at kind of doodle that I did up a dozen years ago, whenever it was, I thought there's a missing piece there. And a couple of conversations that I had with my grandfather many, many years ago came back to me. One of them was a story about how he set a foundation in of lifelong learning. And the second thing he said, which is another story, is he said, Charlie, never take a job that can be one day overtaken by a machine. And I said, why is that, Pop? And he said, it's only a matter of time before someone invents that machine. He was an American guy. He was born in 1908, the same year that the Model T Ford was invented or came off the production line. He talked about computers and microwave ovens, and all of them were taking the role of human beings. And for me, what I took from that was the power and the importance of human connection. There was 28 grandchildren at my grandfather's funeral, and every single one of us thought we were his favourite. 28 of us. He was a master of having a quality conversation. He was 100% present, and he just wanted to learn what was going on through his mindset of service. So, I've never really connected the other three parts of that circle to the conversations I had with him until the real time now. But the human connection piece is where the gold is. I've managed hundreds of salespeople and trained maybe thousands. And what most of them say when I really dig down about why they love sales, and this is, to be clear, differentiating by relationships and solution selling. When you spend enough time talking to them and digging deep, most humans like to help other human beings, and that's facilitated. It's squeezed. The friction's taken out when you've got that human connection. So, for me, that's the art of business development.
Yeah, look, great three points that you've made there, Bram. Listening to that in terms of, and I've just muted. Yeah, so just bear with us. There's a bit of interference in the background. So, Kyle, if you want to raise your hand, please unmute yourself. But in terms of your background with communication mastery, your understanding, or intimate understanding of the people's DISC analysis, the S&I profiles really align to what Charlie's saying. I would have thought.
I was just thinking the same.
And represent
human connection is
a big
really
proportion
important
of the population, right?
70% of Australians are people, including SNI. So yeah, you would expect them to be there.
70%, you said?
70 combined. And then obviously drawn into more specific industries. So if you go to more, the professional financial services, that would have less of a high, group of that sort of likes, unless you're, of course, with Spark, right, where it's different. But yeah, look, I like what you were talking about, and how interesting is it that a lot of it is the first two are mindset. The first two are mindset, and then only it becomes about the quality of the conversation, which is more the skills related thing. So I like how you went about that.
Yeah, well, it was a long bumpy road, right?
I think also what we know through research, Charlie, especially in the financial services industry, and Deloitte just did a whole lot of research late 2024, where they said the most important skill that a financial planner can have with me as their client is to be able to build trust and intimacy with me. Now, that intimacy is around understand my personal values, understand who I am, and understand what's important to me, which is that human connection, right? I love, as a coach, and I know, Brahm, you're the same, even as a psychologist, but I love nothing more than being so present with my client that I don't even hear what is going on in that world outside of me, because I am just right there. I know sometimes I get off a session or a presentation where I've been nothing but present, and I've got a headache at the end of it because I've been so focused on just being present with my people, being with my clients. And I love that fact of going in with that conversation and not expecting anything. And there's sometimes I have a conversation and go, that was not where I expected that to go. We've gone in just such an amazing direction that it was either a referral or, oh my God, I can't believe that we're so aligned with our thinking. So I totally agree that connection, that trust, that intimacy is what people want. And I'm going to say it's not just financial services.
Look, it's an interesting point. And to Charlie's earlier story about his grandfather, I guess forecasting or looking into the future around the role of machines, and we're kind of at this new dawn, aren't we? I sat in an interesting session this morning, run from one of our product providers, which talked about, it's the hot topic at the moment, AI, machine learning, and etc. And the example that he used was there was a study done where there was from a journalism context, there was 100 articles that were placed into the various platforms, the chat GPTs and etc. And the prompt was to then analyze the articles and provide summaries. And that was then provided to a human, very experienced, very well respected journalist to actually comment on the summaries that was produced through these particular platforms. And in that review, 51% had errors in terms of the summary provided by the platforms, and there was 19% that the actual AI had created misinformation, like actually created things that actually weren't there. So it's a long way to go, but to the point that you just made, Kylie, and linking it back to what Charlie's saying, will we ever evolve as a human race to ever replace the human connection needed in most industries?
I've got some thoughts on that, but Charlie, if you've got something to say, go for it.
I have some thoughts, and I'll say from the outset that AI is outside of my comfort zone, so I'm trying to lean into that. I've learned over the last few years when my intuition is hurting or something feels something I strongly disagree with, I try and lean into that because I know that I'm going to grow, I'm going to learn. So that's the first thing. I think that there's a lot to be gained by using AI and a variety of different tools. There's no two ways about it. No one yet has been able to convince me that computers can do the three key things that differentiate between relationships and solution selling. And the first thing is, because it's dots and dashes, we can't connect with human beings. Okay, humans are emotional. We think we're logical. We apply logic. We're actually emotional beings. So that's the first thing computers can't do. Will they ever not be able to do it? I'm not smart enough to answer that. The second thing that they can't do is demonstrate empathy, to put themselves in the shoes of others. And when you're differentiating by relationships and solution selling, if you can't demonstrate empathy, you're not going to get where we need to get. So as business developers or salespeople, we have to continually develop ourselves to make sure we can connect and we can demonstrate empathy. The third thing that people tell me that computers can't do is think laterally in real time. When you're having a conversation, when you're 100% present, like Kylie, she's having a conversation thinking she's going here and she ends up there somewhere. All right, because in real time things come up. There's a lot of work that's been on listening, and when we ask a question, we can speak at 125 words per minute, but humans can think at 900 words per minute. So if I go and fix the first thing that someone tells me, and don't ask another question, just fix the first thing that they tell me, that's 125 out of 900. It's a 14% chance that I'm going to get the right thing, which means there's an 80% chance I'm wrong. So human connection, being empathetic and thinking laterally in real time. Salespeople, by virtue of staying ahead of technology, have got to concentrate on developing themselves in those three areas, or they will get caught up and taken over by computers, and they probably deserve to be.
I love that third point, the lateral thinking. And it's really true. You've got to be agile, quick on your feet, and flexible to sustain the flow of the conversation and stay in that moment, right? And so, look, such good advice. And I just thought, sorry for the segue there, but I just thought it'd be a good topic to kind of talk more thoroughly about. But yeah, thanks for that, Charlie. That was really good.
A couple of months ago, I wouldn't have been so constructive. But I think I've been curious and I've been leaning into my uncomfortability.
Yeah.
And humans by nature have got to fight that. Our comfort zones are where we feel safe and secure, but if we spend too long, we get stuck and we go stale. And there's a graveyard full of people that unfortunately couldn't get themselves through that.
Sure. Yep.
Agree, Bram. What are your thoughts? I know you're ferociously right in there.
So we don't have the note taker in on this. Well, we can always upload the recording and get a transcript for you later, Bram, if you like.
Look, the thing I'm taking out of Charlie's is that there's actually, whilst a lot of roles are at the mercy of AI and many of them are being replaced right now, I'm hearing hope and business development and sales actually be an actual career with a future. I think that's something really to put out there. And I like the fact that you said very few people thought of wanting to become, some kids would think of astronaut or doctor or dentist or whatever. Here we say, hey, what if you were to actually see yourself as the next, whatever, great salesman that changes the world with great solutions and doing it in a way that you look after your clients? I think that's a great story.
Can I also add, if you're wondering, that 60% of CEOs come from a sales background, and the highest paid people on the planet are salespeople. Yeah. So it's not natural. That's why most people when you refer to someone as a salesperson, they say, "Oh, I'm not in sales," and that's just a language or a mindset shift that is very difficult for some people.
Well, and actually, if I can just add there, emotional intelligence, which is a predictor of being paid well as well. Great leaders have a high EQ. Great salespeople have a great EQ. And also great people in customer service tend to have it. So I think that emotional intelligence is a lot about how to deal with other people. It's the soft skills that actually end up giving you more opportunities to earn more.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, I totally agree. One of the things I remember when I first, and this was many moons ago, but when I was becoming a financial advisor and I got offered a job, I was doing my studies, and I remember going, I can't do sales, right? I can't do sales. I've never done sales. I'd always been in product management or leadership. And my leader said to me, I don't want you to sell. I want you to advise. Okay. And it was that total shift in my mindset where I went, how do I be of service, right? I didn't think of service then, but my thinking was, how do I help? How do I help, right? So same as how do I be of service? So that was all I ever focused on. And I was successful, okay, as an advisor, because I focused on how do I help someone for something that I'm so passionate about to make sure they have what they need to either be able to retire or to be able to have the life insurance or disability insurance, right? So it was just a flip. And I remember going, I can't do this. I've never been in sales before, right? So that was exactly what you were saying there. And what I think just in relation to the other point is I feel that certain roles within, say, if we look about financial services, there's a place for AI, okay? And that is, for that real basic advice. We also know that I don't think it will ever replace that holistic advice that we give because of those points that you make out. Emotional intelligence, really understanding them, going in different tangents. So I think there's an opportunity for us to service clients through AI that are not being serviced through a full-blown financial planner. Which I think is a really great opportunity because they need advice. They just don't know how else to get it or they can't afford it. So I think there's a place for AI within our industry at least.
And that's what Charlie's talking about. It's the relationship solution-based selling or complex sales, as I probably, used to call it. Multi-layered, multi-step sales. Fast transactional type definitely can be
easy
replaced. Which is really, it's interesting, isn't it? Instead of, I guess, business development, and we all know the usual rhetoric, there's certain interests that sell. Unfortunately, our profession in financial advice has had to go on a journey to be recognized as a profession and still continues to face that ultimate challenge. But we've had to, I guess, weed out a lot of that behavior, that mindset, that the opposite to what Charlie has been talking about. And to be seen as a profession that actually serves the needs of consumers who are entrusting their life savings to a person, and that person will make sensible decisions on their behalf in their best interests. I mean, I don't see how that will get replaced by the machinery, but in terms of, grunt work, backhand, the calculators, the modeling, I mean, all that can be outsourced, but it's that conveying of the information and the strategy that Charlie's been talking about that has to be tangible and embraced by another human to human. I think that's forever, going to be there. And the other interesting things as well is around what we're talking about today is there's no shame. I just think there's this shame thing, happening, like if you are solving someone's problems, and if that is called, you've sold yourself to them, well, good on you, because you're solving someone's problems. And that's a fantastic thing. And we shouldn't be ashamed, anymore. If we are educated, we're professional, we've had to meet all these standards, we've been put through the ringer as a profession and other professions too. But in terms of, context wise, financial advisors, you should be proud that you're selling yourself in order to help someone. And so I think we just got to bring it back and say it's actually okay to sell if you're genuinely helping someone. And there's nothing wrong for a fair exchange, a commercial exchange for your efforts. There's absolutely nothing wrong with that. And we've got to get away from this, oh, I don't sell stuff. Well, if you don't sell and you can't sell yourself, and you can't sell that you can't serve someone's problems, then find in your profession, because obviously your heart's not in it. If your heart's not in it, find something else to do. Because if you're not passionate about helping someone and serving someone and receiving a fair and equitable exchange for your time and your education and all that type of stuff, then that's okay. Then maybe you should do something else. But that's the reality, and that, I'm just calling it out there. Be proud, everyone. Be proud of what you do. You're helping people. Sorry, just got on my back.
I second that.
This is a safe space here. So I'm going to share something that I've never really told anybody before. Most people, you know me, won't know me. It's quite secretive, right? I studied accounting. It's true. I have a degree in accounting.
Well, we're going to hang up the call now.
I told you it was serious, and that's the reason I've barely told anybody. And there's a reason I think that there are people struggle with the idea of being a salesperson, and part of it's around comfort zone, and it's just the terminology around that, because we've got to live outside of our comfort zone, and salespeople have to put themselves in path of rejection every single day, and that's counter to human nature. We all need to feel connected, we all need to feel heard, and we all want to belong. So, but salespeople have to drag themselves out of that environment in the path of rejection. The other thing about everyone thinking they're not in sales, that's my opportunity. So I'm happy to help them. I think what happens, and Kyle and I spoke a little bit about this yesterday, and that is that where there's a heavy technical nature to the sale, and that might be earth moving equipment because there's fuel consumption, there's lift capacity, there's running hours, it might be engineering or accounting. In lots of those things where there's a heavy technical aspect to it, it's black and white, it's logic. But across in sales world, most of us buy on emotion and we justify with logic. So we've got to, and there's less certainty around emotion because people are emotional beings. And then you put two of them together and you can get a wildly different result on any different day. So it's the uncertainty around the emotional features of being human versus the logic of black and white and certainty. And to Bram's point about, with the disc, I was nodding there because high C's, which is where a lot of accountants and compliance live, it's black and white. But that's counter to the I, where it's about extroversion and energy and excitement and those sorts of things. That and I will be careful by saying that I have heard forever that extroverts make the best salespeople because they're outgoing and gregarious. I've also heard that introverts make the best salespersons because they're better at listening. As far as I'm concerned, it's all rubbish. If you want to learn sales, you can. That's the thing that struck me when I was 22 with an accounting degree and think I knew everything. I worked out really quickly that I didn't know anything at all. But I went to a sales training course and I went, wow, you can actually learn this stuff.
Yeah. And I can actually help people. Yeah. Look, we've got to kind of wrap it up pretty soon. Just calling out Bernie Sheehan, who's come and made a comment. Thank you, Bernie. I tell my people we're just here to help, and it's so true. And I guess the sooner we embrace that, I guess the better off we're going to be. Like, we'll be much more comfortable in our own skins, and we'll be able to convey our messages much more effectively. We're going to be more open to helping more people. As long as we've got the right people with the right intent in these positions of, let's say, influence and obviously accountability, get that piece right. And then to your point, Charlie, is anyone can learn and get better, and every day is a learning opportunity. So I'm going to finish there, but Bram and Kylie, any closing comments? And obviously Charlie, in the chat, in the LinkedIn chat, please put your details. Anyone that wants to connect with you, that feel they need to reach out and get some support, please do so with the LinkedIn post. But Kylie, Bram, closing comments.
Yeah, well, for me, Charlie, I'd love you to share your webinar that you're doing Friday, okay? So the Art of Business Development. So if anyone, wants to learn more about that, check it out, right? It's definitely a webinar that you're worth going to. And for me, I think, I remember this Tom Brady, and I want to end on it, to be successful in anything, the truth is you don't have to be special. You just have to be what most people aren't, and that is consistent, determined, and willing to work for it. So I think that sort of wraps up all those things that you were talking about too, Charlie. So I'll leave it to Bram and then to Charlie to share details.
I'm all good. Over to you, Charlie.
Thank you. I am just opening up my Zoom, and I'll put that in the chat in just a couple of seconds' time. What I'd encourage everybody to do is to know or try and recognize within yourself where your comfort zone is, and try and get yourself outside of it. And the very best way that you can do that, it starts with doing something you've never done before. So I was saying to someone last week that I've never done Zoom Live before. So I'm doing Zoom Live today, and so that's me getting outside of my comfort zone. Doing it in front of any number of people, it's not intimidating because I know where my comfort zone begins and ends, and I'm trying to learn myself to push myself outside it. And the second thing I would say is lean in, because there is an awful lot of to be gained when you're courageous and willing to get outside of your comfort zone. I don't know who said it, but they said life happens outside of your comfort zone.
Yeah.
I've spent so much time out of my comfort zone in the last 3 or 4 years. I'm busy, but hopefully I've shared a few things today. I have a webinar on coming up on Friday at 2 p.m. I'm going to send the link now. Hopefully that works. If it's not, if it doesn't work, I'm on LinkedIn, and I'd love to connect, love to chat, and see how I can help, like Bernie, in any way.
Beautiful. Right, that's a wrap. Everyone, thanks for joining. Great chat today with Charlie Pidcock. Great story with your achievements, journey over the last 10 years running your own business. Good luck looking ahead. And thank you for joining us today. Kylie, Bram, we'll catch up with you next fortnight, and we'll speak to each other soon. Thank you so much.
See you soon. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, everyone.